briefing the president on the individual making these decisions in North Korea.
Good morning, Tom. The president is receiving his briefings from the intelligence community, led, of course, by his chief of staff, General Kelly, who has really become the gatekeeper of sorts for this White House. I can also tell you that there was some remarks. The president's remarks yesterday were met by some skepticism in Washington circles just about what exactly this would mean. Now, that said, the Chinese have responded in a Beijing Global Times editorial in which they are saying that they are urging the United States and North Korea to back off this type of fiery rhetoric. They don't think that it's going to help anyone.
Kevin, as you know, the Washington Post partitions today 4 outcomes that we will see this Friday and into the weekend. Which of those are most important? Is it about talks? Is it about military dynamics of getting near war? Is it about sanctions, or is it simply about bluff and bluster and a too long press conference?
Well, we have to note that North Korea dictator Kim Jong-un, who's 33 years old, has really, ever since assuming power in 2011, increased the missile launches that he has done with testing. And significantly, he's on pace already to surpass the record-setting missile launches that he did last year alone. And so this has been something that has been going on at the end of the Obama administration and now well into the Trump administration. The U.S. wants to put together an international geopolitical coalition, and that's where trade and foreign policy are really intersected here. And really how it could impact the markets is, again, because the U.S. wants to use economic interests in order to address this growing threat of a nuclear North Korea.
Kevin, this all sounds like Crisis 101. Kevin Cirilli and Tom Keene talking it up in a normal way. Baloney. Where do the nationalists at the White House fit in? Is Mr. Bannon part of this conversation?
Well, Tom, that's where essentially I think the folks here in Washington are aware that they could just rip up the script at any moment. I mean, that's why the president's tweeting really could significantly impact and change the course of this. I mean, that comment earlier this week, the fire and fury that President Trump made, really was a sign of showcasing that the nationalists in the White House did still have the president's ear. People like the Steve Bannons of the world. And that was, of course, met with criticism from the generals who reportedly were not briefed on that topic. So, you know, look, this is a president who says his unpredictability is an asset. There are some who are his critics who say it's a liability.
All right. How do you get China on side, Kevin? What does the president need to do? Who does he need to call in the next week to make sure that he gets the support from China?
And Francine, those meetings, of course, with the Chinese that were had originally been scheduled back earlier in this administration when President Xi and President Trump had first met, are beginning to be underway. And North Korea is the top priority right now for these two countries. But in terms of trade, in terms of what the administration feels is the card that they have up their sleeve, so to speak, is when it comes to tariffs, when it comes to whether or not Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross will impose more tough economic sanctions on the Chinese. If the Chinese aren't going to play ball with the U.S. on North Korea, which, by the way, North Korea's top trading partner is China, then the U.S. feels they can be more tough on economic sanctions. Of course, that has a domino effect on other economic interests, though.
Kevin